are very much the experts in all things grid. So we eat, live and sleep the electricity grid. What makes us different is that because we have such a deep understanding of the electricity networks, we're able to take the networks, look at them, model them out in our specialist software, and really pinpoint where there is capacity on those networks. So traditionally, if people wanted a connection to the electricity network, they had to apply to the electricity company. If they wanted a high voltage connection, for example, the electricity company would reply within 30 days and say you can or cannot connect. We turn that on its head and we say, what do you need or what are you looking for? We model out the networks in our software. We pinpoint exactly what capacity is where, and then we go back, typically within a week, but we can do it much faster if need be, and tell the clients exactly where is that capacity, how much will it cost, and importantly, how long it will take to connect. So what makes ESN different is that unlike everyone else in the market, we can actually model out the electricity networks on the customer's behalf. So traditionally, the customer would have to go to the electricity company and they would say yes or no without much clue as to what's actually going on. Whereas us, and only us, can model the networks, identify where that capacity is exactly, and tell the clients in real time there's capacity here, there's not capacity here, and how much that will cost. So by coming to eSmart Networks, you can really get a much better understanding of the situation right at the early stages of the project. You imagine the risk in a project that it's going to take 5 years, cost £6 million. We did the same connection in sort of 18 months for a lot less money. So that's just a real tangible example of how we can really accelerate the connections and massively reduce the cost. We're seeing massive changes actually. So if you consider warehousing to start with, so typically in years gone by, even a big warehouse would have had a 500 kVA electricity supply, for example. Not very big considering the floor space, but really it was only power in the office and some lighting. The heating was gas. What we're seeing now is really disproportionately big demands for load. So a lot of these warehouses now have highly automated systems. They've got renewables inbuilt into them, and they've got some really high demand applications like indoor food production that's done using green electricity. So because these buildings now need such a big electricity supply, all of a sudden the developers are exposed to a world they didn't really get involved very much in the past, which was they need very big connections, which can be very expensive. They can take quite a long time to come to fruition. And they can lose a lot of time just identifying is that capacity even available. What we're seeing now is increased demand for things like electric vehicles, heat pumps, and really big demand. So for example, the electric vehicle forecourts that have been built, they've typically got between a 6 and 8 MVA connection. So that would power 6,000 to 7,000 homes. So that's a small town. So and there's one company out there that's got plans to do 100 of these next year. So all this extra load on the network means that capacity is very short. So by understanding where the capacity is up front, you can really massively cut down project timescales and costs by using our service where we can model out the networks and identify where that capacity is, importantly at the minimum cost to connect as well. To give a piece of advice to anyone developing property right now, especially larger property, because we are seeing demand for larger loads, because we are seeing demand for the integration of renewable technology, so for example, wind turbines, solar panels, the electricity connections are getting much more complex and they're taking much longer to deliver because of that complexity. So the big risks in developing property when it comes to utilities is you get into the build or get too far down the line and it's going to cost a lot of money and take a lot of time. So understand the connection capacity very early, and that means you will massively de-risk the project.